The year was 2008. The financial world was a collapsing house of cards, but for Elias Khan, an American-born son of Pakistani immigrants, the collapse had started long before the news headlines. He sat cross-legged on a fraying, hand-me-down prayer mat in a cramped, damp basement apartment in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. The air smelled of mold and the faint, persistent scent of his landlord's forgot pipe tobacco. Outside, the sirens of New York were a constant, cynical chorus. Elias was a graduate of NYU, brilliant, ambitious, and equipped with a coveted degree in electrical engineering. By all accounts, he should have been climbing the corporate ladder in Manhattan. Instead, he was facing the 10th and possibly final rejection for his groundbreaking energy storage prototype, the very invention he believed would revolutionize global power grids. The prototype, named Amana Trust, was his life's work. It was designed to store solar and wind energy with an efficiency that made existing battery technology look prehistoric. The technology was sound, every technical review confirmed its genius. But the financial world, paralyzed by the recession and wary of a lone, unknown founder, saw him as a risk, not an opportunity. His personal finances were annihilated. Student loans had ballooned. His parents, who had sacrificed everything to bring him up in the U.S., were worried sick. He had even sold his beloved 1968 Mustang, a family heirloom, to pay his lead engineer for one last month. Elias had always been a practicing Muslim, but his faith, like his career, had been running on low battery power. Salah prayer was a routine, charity was a budget item, and dua, supplication, was often a quick, mumbled afterthought tacked onto the end of his prayers, a transaction, not a conversation. That night everything changed. He felt a profound, absolute emptiness. It was a spiritual vacuum far more terrifying than the financial one. He wasn't just poor, he was utterly alone, relying on his own failing intellect and effort. It was a moment of absolute iftikhar, total dependence and neediness before God. He prayed Isha, the night prayer, and when he finished, he did not rush to stand up. He bowed his head low in sujud prostration, the lowest and most vulnerable position a servant can take. The gritty texture of the old prayer mat pressed against his forehead. He remained there unmoving for what felt like an hour. It was during this state of profound sujud that the miracle of the specific dua began. Elias had always known the general prayer for relief from debt, the one taught by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Allahumma inni utu bika minal hami wal hazan wal ajzi wal kazel wal bukli wal juban wa dalid dani wa galabadarijal. O Allah, I seek refuge in you from anxiety and sorrow, from incapacity and laziness, from stinginess and cowardice, and from the burden of debt and the domination of men. But this night he didn't just recite it, he lived it. He started weeping not out of panic but out of shame for his lack of trust, his prior arrogance of self-reliance. He repeated the phrase, focusing on each element, internalizing the deep need. 1. Minal hami wal hazan *, remove the anxiety and the sorrow that suffocates my heart, O Lord. 2. Wal ajzi wal kazel, remove my sense of helplessness and this crippling laziness that keeps me from standing for your sake. 3. Wal bukli wal juban, remove the greed that makes me hoard and the cowardice that makes me fear people more than you. 4. Wa dalid dani wa galabadarijal *, and most importantly, relieve me of this crushing burden of debt and free me from the domination of men, the investors, the banks, the people whose approval I crave. He stayed in that state of complete submission, repeating this specific dua with a conviction he had never known for over 3 hours. This was not a quick request, it was a soul cleansing, a spiritual transformation. He was, in effect, handing over the Amana trust of his entire life, including his invention, to Allah alone. When he finally rose, his face was wet but his heart was calm. He was still broke, still in debt, and his business was failing, but the anxiety, the ham was gone. He slept for 2 hours, waking up before Fajr dawn prayer with a clarity that felt supernatural. The divine reprogramming, the shift in strategy. The next day, Elias did something illogical from a typical American business perspective. He didn't chase more investors. He went to his old, dusty whiteboard and erased all the financial projections. He wrote 3 words in bold Arabic calligraphy: Arabicate, Arabic Khalif, Arabicrat, Arabica, Arabic Zain, Arabica, Arabic Shada, Arabic Khalif, Arabic Half, Yurazek, O, the provider. His engineer, Kevin, a cynical, non-religious man, walked in and stared at the board. Elias, what the heck is your Razak? Is that a new battery chemistry? We have a demo with Tech Trend in 2 days and they want numbers, not ancient script. Elias smiled, a genuine, peaceful smile that surprised even himself. It's the ultimate investor, Kevin. We're changing the pitch. We're no longer begging for capital. We are offering a solution to a global problem. We will only partner with those whose vision aligns with fixing the earth, not just chasing a quick profit. Our mission is halal, lawful, and our provision will come from the provider. Kevin was mystified but couldn't deny the sudden, intense focus and magnetic calm of his boss. The Tech Trend meeting and the unconventional offer. The meeting with Tech Trend Ventures in their ultramodern Fifth Avenue offices was scheduled for 10:00 a.m. Elias was always early, but this time he was not waiting in the lobby. He was on the roof of a nearby building, performing a short duha prayer, the optional mid-morning prayer often associated with seeking blessings in one's work and provision. He made the same powerful, specific dua he had made the night before, ending it with an additional line. Allahumma akfini by halalika and haramika wa agnini by fadlika aman siwak. O Allah, suffice me with your lawful against your prohibited and make me independent of all those besides you. He walked into the meeting room at 10:05 a.m. The three partners were impatient, tapping their pens. They expected the usual desperate pitch. Instead, Elias began with a profound, almost spiritual vision of sustainable power, quoting not corporate slogans but verses from the Quran about the amana trust man holds over the earth. He spoke not of return on investment but of the global impact of clean energy on underserved communities, a topic few Silicon Valley types cared about in 2008. One partner, Mr. Anderson, a notoriously aggressive negotiator, cut him off. Mr. Khan, cut to the chase. Your valuation is absurdly high for a company with zero revenue. We can buy your patents for $3 million, clean your debt, and you can walk away. Elias